Good afternoon and welcome to our Friday Gentle Yoga. We'll just wait a second for some people to join. Either way, I hope your week was phenomenal. My week felt like it flew by and also not quick enough. As you're filtering in, it might be nice to just grab yourself a nice space, open space where it's just you. Maybe you even want to grab some yoga blocks. I don't normally have them, but this weekend I do. They're just a way to get deeper into your practice if you would like to get deeper into your practice. Cool. You're also welcome to have water. You may even want water. Once we get going, it'll get pretty toasty, so it's just nice to have something to cool yourself down with. Just trying to set that intention just while we sit here. Starting a little slowly today. That is purposeful. Just kind of centering in and realizing where our body is today. Acknowledging that this is our Gentle Friday Yoga, which is through Hand Start Center, which of course, as we know, per our spiel, is a nonprofit based in Greater Boston with a mission to share the healing practice of yoga with those affected by trauma, addiction, and poverty. This is our virtual project with the Boston Public Library. Once coronavirus hit, we had to adapt a little bit, but I think that is the nature of everybody's life recently, so it's very fitting. Little background about me. My name is Julie Tokarowski. I am a Hatha yoga instructor, which means I have my 200 hour. I'm an RYT 200. So I study 200 hours of Hatha yoga. Hatha yoga is a little bit different than Vinyasa. It's a little bit different than a flow. So thinking of Vinyasa, you're moving around a lot, right? You're always moving into the next pose. Hatha is a little bit different than that. Basically, you're going to start with your sun salutations. Today we're doing sun salutations. You go into some standing asana, some seated asana, and then slowly core, followed by a shavasana to cap it off. If you've done a Hatha yoga class, it may feel different. The structure just feels a little different for someone who practices Ashtanga or even Vinyasa regularly. Keeping that in mind, we'll sit cross-legged. Starting to focus in. Starting to notice, what brings you into your practice today. We always start with our Pranayama. So I'm just starting to kind of wake up my fingers. I'm sitting with a nice straight flat back, right? I'm sitting up straight. Kind of feeling reset if you can. Sitting with it for a second. You can let your eyes close or keep them open, whatever is going to help you focus a little bit better. As you're sitting cross-legged, you can have one leg slightly in front of the other. That's how I like to sit cross-legged. Feels a little bit better on my hips. I'm going to keep my elbows bent just a little bit so that there's a little bit of room. It's not like I'm really pressing down in them. I'm just giving myself some space to kind of roll my shoulders away, wake up my spine, right? So in this exercise, we've done it before. It's a little weird. We always do it at the start of class to warm ourselves up. Maybe wouldn't be something we do in the summer months, but here we are going into fall and then winter. This is a perfectly fine exercise to do. So here we go. We're going to inhale to the top of our breath. Through the nose, lengthening the spine. Once you feel you're there, flip it through the nose, just like you inhaled, audibly on an exhale. As you exhale, you'll begin to force yourself to curl a little bit. So we really want this to be a very movement-based exercise. So you're moving around. That's why we have this nice little space between our elbows. Checking in, trying it again. Here we go. We'll do 5 rounds of it on our own or with me, whichever is personally preferable to you. I do not care. I don't see you. You only see me. Great. Here we go. Inhale, straighten up that spine. Exhale, flip it back out through the nose. 4 more times. Here we go. Inhale, lengthen all the way up. Exhale, flip it through the nose. 3 more times. Inhale, here we go. All the way up, hold it for a second, flip it. 2 more. Last one on your own. Sit with it for a second, start to breathe normally. Feel if you've created some heat, if you're noticing some heat in your body. How is that feeling now versus how it felt 2 minutes ago, right? From here, you can press your arms together like you're clapping. Start to rub your palms back and forth, right? We're generating that heat, keeping it right in front of us near our core. And once you feel like you have a little bit of warmth between your hands, inhale to cover your eyes. On your exhale, and slowly peel your eyes away. Your palms away from your eyes. Letting the light back in and then wiping it off, and we'll start our practice. Coming to the top of your mat, you'll meet me in equal standing pose. That's that mountain pose we see in most yoga classes. We always start with a half of a sun salutation. So let's think about that. Let's get into it really quick. So let's stand up. Let's get into the basics of that. So I've got my legs strong on the floor. Even pull you up a little bit more. Thank you. I'm facing you. You do not have to face me. You can turn to the side. Sometimes when I teach, I prefer to turn to the side, but today I feel like I want to face the camera head on. Keeping a generous bend in the knees, right? So think about this. This is your end of your week. So you want to be really nice and grateful to your body, almost like thanking your body for bringing you through the week. So in a normal sun salutation, I would have you folding over, coming up halfway, coming up all the way, dropping down, forward fold, inhale, do it again. I'm going to change it around a little bit. So just kind of bear with me here. This is a very gentle class. So we want to start that way, right? We want to feel it in our bones. So let's stand for a second. Let's bend our knees, put our hands on our thighs, and do that nice flat back that you do in the middle of this sequence. Exhale, press away and curl up through your spine, dome up through your spine. Inhale, cow pose, standing cow, right? Exhale, press it away, pressing into your thighs, keeping that bend in the knees if you'd like. Inhale, drop the belly, look forward. Exhale, press and curl. Inhale, drop and look forward. Exhale, press and curl. Inhale, drop forward. Sitting with it for a second, coming down into a forward fold, all the way noticing if you do want a little bit of a bend in your knees. I'm just going to angle the camera down so you see what I'm doing on my mat here. Getting a little wrinkly, let's just fix that, perfect. So here I am, I just kind of balanced out my spine. So I'm going to dive all the way over my legs. And I'm going to notice, okay, I think I need a little bit more of a bend here. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to really drop into my hips and slowly come up all the way. Maybe my arms come out to the side. Exhale, fold over completely, do it again. Inhale, same thing. Reaching up over the legs, arms can come out wide. Exhale, drop into it, do it again. Again, this time we're going to reverse swan dive. This is a little bit different. It's a little bit bizarre because most teachers don't use it. We've never seen a swan dive ever, have we? So that being said, reverse swan dive all the way up. Exhale, reverse swan dive all the way down. Maybe putting your hands completely on the mat. Maybe coming up to kind of sit on your haunches a little bit. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, round and curl, press the mat away. So think about it. You're standing just like you are, equally distant, right? But think about doming through your spine. Inhale, look forward. It's a very similar movement to what we just did standing, right? Exhale, press and curl. Inhale, look forward. Hold it for a second. Find that breath. Exhale, straighten up to a forward fold. Always the option to keep a nice big bend. Reverse swan dive up, inhale. Exhale, come to meet in the middle. Coming back onto your mat, you can find yourself in a child's pose. Child's pose, one of our favorite poses, a nice resting posture that really helps us to lengthen the spine and completely lie flat on our surface. Here we go. Inhale, walk those hands forward. Exhale, surrender that forehead right down to the mat. Maybe here you want to walk your hands a little bit further out. Maybe you want to take your left hand and crawl it just underneath the right. Maybe you want to switch it out, reset, and do the opposite. It's a little bit of threading the needle just to wake up the spine, just to get a nice counter stretch, right? We're doing a lot of this cat-cow movement. So this is a great counter stretch to any back bending that we'll do. Working our way up to the top of the class, right? In any yoga class, you have the peak and then it gets easier from there. I promise that's the point. It gets easier. It's not supposed to just be harder and harder and harder, right? This isn't a HIIT class. Let's sink forward and find ourselves on all fours. Here we go. Inhale, look forward, drop the belly. Exhale, round and curl just like we did. Press the mat away. Inhale, look forward, reset the spine. Come to a neutral standing pose. Exhale, let it go. Inhale, raise your right arm and your left leg. Nice little balancing pose here. Maybe you want to do a little lift, 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 lift. Exhale, 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 exhale. Switch it out, opposite side. This time it is your right arm and left leg. Here we go. Lift, 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 and exhale, 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 exhale. Bring it back to a neutral position. Bring the big toes together, walk the hands out in front. Child's pose, same thing. Take a second, sit with it. We got a little bit of a heat in our body, right? We started moving. We're definitely moving around now. Let's notice that. Let's see how it feels in the body. As you are ready, however feels best, you can come to all fours and meet me standing at the top of your mat. This is the way that I'm going to get there. You do not have to follow. Whew. All right, here I am at the top of my mat. I'm ready to get into our sun salutations. Let's breathe through it. Let's go. We've done this before. This is more lungey. We've definitely been here before. We know where we're going. Here we go. Equal standing pose, staring right at the screen. Roll those shoulders back and away. Take a second. Tuck in my shirt so it doesn't pull up. Inhale, arms out wide. Overhead. Begin to fall forward, remembering your modifications. Maybe you want to fold over halfway and keep your hands on your thighs. Maybe you want to fold over all the way and keep your hands on your shins. Wherever you are, finding that breath. Exhale, plant your palms to the ground and step your right leg back into a low lunge. Here we are, low lunge. Trying to keep that ankle above the knee. I'm just going to pull the screen a little bit further down so you can actually see how my anatomy is looking right now. Right, so we've got this knee. We don't want something like this. We want to bring that knee just over the ankle so that we could stay here. It's not super comfortable, but it's not hurting us, right? Sit with it for a second. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, press back. Downward facing dog. Here we go. Inhale to look forward. Exhale, drop the knees. This is a modified version. Take your personalizations as necessary. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, drop the belly. Inhale, rise to cobra or baby cobra. Exhale, press the mat away. Come through downward facing dog. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, bring your left foot forward. Right? Same position we started in, just reversing it. So it's the exact same foot. It's just this time I cued the left, last time I cued the right. We'll keep that going. Here we go. Exhale, step to the front of your mat. Forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms up all the way to the sky. Exhale, fold back over halfway. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, this time you send your left leg back behind you, right? Here we go, getting into that rhythm. Sitting with it. Maybe you inhale and bring your arms up again. Exhale, pressing those palms back to the mat, stepping back into a downward facing dog. Inhale to look forward. Exhale to drop the knees. Inhale to look forward, reset. Exhale to drop the chest between the arms. Inhale, cobra pose. Exhale, downward facing dog. Press it back. Woo! Inhale, look forward. Exhale, bring your right foot between your legs, between your palms, excuse me. Inhale, look forward, reset. Exhale, step forward, top of your mat, halfway fold. Halfway lift. Inhale, arms up all the way to the sky. And pause. Grab water if you need it. Reset your position. We're going to do it one more time on each side. Normally we do 3, but I don't want to fire us up that much before we get to the hardest point. So coming back to equal standing pose, here we go. As always, you are welcome to take any modification necessary, any personalization. You'll meet me in equal standing in 3, 2, and 1. Arms out wide up overhead. Exhale, bending, folding, hinging at the hips. Exhale, pressing the palms down to the mat, or maybe they rest on your thighs or shins, whichever. Exhale, land it all the way down, stepping that right leg back this time. That's my left. Here's our right leg. We're sitting with it. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, palms to the mat. Step back, downward facing dog. Resetting a little bit here. Inhale to look forward. Exhale to drop those knees. Inhale to reset. Exhale to drop the chest. Inhale, halfway, all the way lift to cobra. Exhale, however you want to meet me there, taking whichever personalization you'd like. Meet me back in downward facing dog. Inhale, send your left foot forward between your palms, low lunge. Exhale, step to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hold. Inhale, arms out wide and overhead. Last side, here we go. Exhale, diving back down. Maybe halfway lifting, maybe your hands are on your thighs, wherever, flat back. We don't want that rounding that we did earlier. Sitting with it for a second, exhale, step your right leg behind you this time. We just did that. I meant left, that's okay, no worries. You can easily switch your legs out, not a big deal. Sit with it for a second. Exhale, press yourself back. You know what's next, downward facing dog. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, drop your knees. Inhale, reset. Exhale, drop your chest. Here we go. This is a different sequence. If you'd like to use it, you can flow through an actual chaturanga. If you feel like it, you can go high plank to low plank. I'll demonstrate once. And then to upward facing dog. It is up to you. Wherever you are, I'll meet you in downward facing dog. Exhale, press it back. Boom. Meet me in your downward facing dog. Inhale this time. Here we go. We've done this before. Pulling your right leg forward. Low lunge. Knee touches the mat, right? Exhale. Step it forward. Forward fold at the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Rise up. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way up. And come take a seat on the mat. Whew. Yeah. Awesome. A third of the way through class, We definitely feel that heat, right? The heat in our chest has risen. We are feeling like, okay, I'm definitely working now. But guess what? We're gonna go even harder because yes, just like I said, we are getting to the crux of class. We are getting to the peak moment. So keeping that in mind, we wanna keep that tempo up, right? Think about your breath. Think about linking one breath to a movement. We'll do it first, twice on each side. We will do it slow so that we can see how the motions go. From there, we will link breath to movement with one movement. Here we go. Come to the top of your mat. This is where your thighs are gonna go, ah! Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, chair pose. Inhale, chair with airplane arms. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, this is where it changes. Flow your high to low plank. However you want to get there. Inhale, here comes your upward facing dog. Exhale, press the mat away, downward facing dog. Change here, here we go. Inhale, lift your right leg high. Exhale, step it forward. Inhale, spin open, warrior two. Exhale, reach it back. Reverse warrior. Inhale, exhale, swing it all the way down. Same thing. You can do this, you know it, you definitely know it. Flow your high to low plank or just meet in your downward facing dog. When you get there, inhale, walk the feet up to meet the hands. Inhale, arms up overhead, chair pose, sink down. Woo! So that's one leg. Just to go through it in case you missed any part of it, I'll just slow it down a little bit. We start with our chair pose. We move into chair with airplane arms. We go down into forward fold. We do a halfway lift, opening our chest. We exhale to step back into a plank pose. Any point in this sequence you can change and make your own. We do our plank flow. If that's for you, that may just be a little bit of a cow sequence. And then you may be in downward facing dog. It's totally up to you. From there, downward facing dog, we lift the right leg up high. That's your three-legged dog, right? From there, you're gonna step it in between your palms, right? So here's your three-legged dog. This is gonna come right there. Find that nice, strong position. Inhale, you'll spin yourself open, and you'll be in warrior two. From there, we do a nice little reverse warrior, that nice little bend in the spine, right? Exhale, sweep it all away. Nice little cartwheel move here. Coming back down into the plank position, however you'd like to get there. From there, you'll meet me back in your downward facing dog. You'll step to the top of your mat. Final forward fold. Inhale to come back up. That was a lot, but we can do it. So I'm gonna grab my blocks just to frame my foot. My body's been a little stiff these days, and I think I'd like to add a little something extra, a little bit more support. I'm gonna put the blocks right at the top of my mat so that I can keep moving in between them and around them, and it's not going to disrupt my sequence. Amazing. Here we go. You can keep eyes on how I use the blocks. That is totally fine with me. It will not make me nervous in the least. Blocks are meant to be a way to get deeper into our practice on the days that maybe we don't feel like we can get deeper into our practice. Keeping that in mind, here we go. Inhale, exhale, chair pose. Inhale, chair with airplane arms. Exhale, forward fold. I'm gonna put my hands on my blocks here. I'm gonna tip them on the tallest measurement, and I'm going to place my hands on them, showing me that maybe I need a little bit less, maybe a little bit more of a bend in the knees instead. Exhale from here, you flow your high to low plank. Remember, for me, that might mean, okay, I'm gonna put my hands right on the mat in front of me, and I'm gonna do a nice cow, roll it back to a cat, and then when I feel exhausted from it, curl my toes underneath me, And stand back up to a downward facing dog. Boom, here we are. This time we do it on the left. Inhale, lift your left leg high. Exhale, it's gonna come right between these blocks right here. Boom, there it is. There's your big step. If it's hard for you to keep that back leg straight, maybe you put your hands on your blocks, make it a little bit easier for you. Instead of, notice the difference, sinking in to my hands and being on my fingertips, I can use the blocks to lift myself up and give my thigh a nice little break. My quad is thanking me, right? Because I can straighten out my front leg or I can bend it. And either way, I am still very much engaged and still doing my yoga. Inhale, here we go. This is when we spin open. You may want to shift forward into your front leg, maybe reaching your right arm into a warrior one. If it looks impossible, take a second. Exhale, reverse warrior. Inhale, cartwheel those arms. Exhale, frame your foot. You know where to go from here. This is your chaturanga flow. Chaturanga flow can look like anything. This can be the advanced version if you'd like to see it. So here's my upward facing dog. My thighs are not on the mat. Exhale, I roll over my toes to press it away. Boom, there's my flow. However, it is your flow. It is not mine, it is yours. Keeping that in mind, find your own rhythm, find your own breath. All right, so here we are. We met in downward facing dog. Whew. Inhale, bringing your feet to meet your hands at the top of the mat. Same thing. I don't want to fold over all the way, so I'm going to take my blocks on the highest measurement, and I'm going to bend my knees. Here's my forward fold. That's totally fine, okay? When I say inhale, halfway lift, maybe I'll try to straighten out my legs and reach a little bit more. Maybe I just want to stay here. Wherever you are, exhale to let it go. Ragdoll pose, forward fold. Inhale, arms out wide. Exhale, we'll do it again. Same thing. Coming back down. Maybe you want to keep a block with you. Here we go. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, chair pose. I'm going to grab those blocks here. Inhale, chair with airplane arms. Exhale, forward fold, diving down to meet your blocks or your legs. Keeping that back as straight as you can. Deciding, is my back asking for more blocks? Or is my back telling me, no, I need to just do it without blocks? Exhale, here comes your high to low plank flow. I'm going to do it a little bit personalized. Just like we did in our first warm-up, I drop my knees. I'm going to drop my chest between my palms. I'm going to inhale to roll up into baby cobra. Exhale, press the mat away, curling my toes underneath me, lifting my tail up to downward facing dog. This time we're switching. It's onto the right this time. So we lift the right leg high and we exhale to step it through. This time I'm noticing that I'm trying to bend my knee a little bit more. I'm going to use my blocks and I'm going to try them on the highest measurement, right? So here we go. Sitting with it for a second. You know where we go from here. You reach that right arm forward and cartwheel it back. This is your warrior one. Take your pose as you normally would. Exhale, reverse warrior. Inhale, hold. Exhale, cartwheel those arms back down. Maybe they tap your blocks. Spin that back heel forward. You know the move. Exhale, chaturanga. You can follow me or you can do your own. Drop those knees to the mat. Exhale, press the chest between the mat. Inhale, cobra pose. Exhale, rolling over the toes. Coming up through downward facing dog. Inhale, look forward. You know where we go from here. Exhale, walk, step, or jump. This is different. Between your palms. Inhale, halfway lift. Using those blocks as you feel necessary. Exhale, hold it. Inhale, arms all the way up. Exhale, chair pose. We've got one more side to do, so let's keep the energy going. Inhale, chair with airplane arms. Exhale, forward fold. Here's when I grab my blocks. Maybe my back is saying we can bend our knees and go for a lower measurement. Maybe I try that. Maybe I totally get rid of the blocks and I reach forward. Exhale, forward fold. You know where we go from here. Inhale, halfway lift, maybe just opening up that spine. Exhale, step it back, flow your high to low plank, however you'd like to get there. This time I'm gonna come knees. I think I'm just gonna do some cat-cows at this point. There's my cow. Exhale, there's my cat. Inhale, assuming everybody's done. Rolling over my toes. Downward facing dog. Inhale, you know it. Lift your left leg high. Exhale, pulling it between your palms. Using those blocks to straighten up and fire up through that back leg. Remembering that we are strong. This is something we absolutely can do. And that's why we do it, right? Exhale, here comes that right arm out straight. Inhale, looking forward. Hold it for a second. I know this is hard. Exhale, spin it open. Warrior two, right? Checking in on that stance. Little reverse warrior. Exhale, spin everything away. Maybe finding those blocks, finding that same stance wherever you are. Taking your chaturanga, nice vinyasa. Exhale, press it back down, facing dog. Wherever you are in 3, 2, 1. Exhale. Inhale, look forward, walk, step, or jump to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms up all the way. Exhale, come to sit on your mat. Yay! Excellent job. So that right there was the peak of class. Notice the difference between how the beginning of class felt, right? We did a little bit of stretching. We moved our body around. That went fast, right? That's the point. We want to be fast enough to keep our body engaged, but slow enough to slow down the brain. Try to figure that one out. Great. You may or may not need your blocks. I'm just going to put mine to the side, knowing that if I need them, I can have them. Jumping right into the rest of our practice, we're actually going to skip a standing pose, just because I feel like we already got a ton of standing in through both of our warm-ups and our nice little sun bee. So flipping over, coming into pigeon. Here we come. I'm going to use my blocks for this one. You can come up through downward facing dog as you're ready. Prepping yourself for a nice, even standing downward facing dog. This is your Adho Mukha Svanasana, right? Curling your toes underneath you. Exhaling to lift the hips high. Inhale, whichever leg you'd like to start on. It is totally up to you. I'm going to start on my right into a nice 3-legged dog. And then I'm going to pike my leg up into my chest until I sit it in front of me in a nice little kind of a half split, right? So here we are. It feels uncomfortable, but not uncomfortable enough to make me feel like I'm hurting myself. From here, I'm going to use my blocks to rest my forearms on. This helps me get a little bit deeper into my hips and really opens them up. If that's not feeling good, maybe you want to go a lower measurement. Cutting off about 2 inches there. Here you go. If this is still too much help and you just want to dive right into it, you are more than welcome. Again, walking those hands out and leaning down onto the forearms. We're here for a brief second. So feel free to get comfortable. This is why I like to teach with blocks. I haven't had my blocks for the past 8 sessions, but it just feels so good to have something that you can rely on, because sometimes our body is not ready for the peak pose yet, right? We want to honor that. We want to honor where our body is. And that is the beauty of trauma-sensitive yoga, right? This is me on my mat doing my practice. And you happen to be doing your practice on your own mat. Like we said, I won't touch you. I won't leave my mat. I will not do anything to you. I will be sitting right here cueing, and you have the option to take it or leave it, right? This is a great way to slow down the body. right? So we're really in that hip. That hip opening is feeling like you're getting some work. Maybe this isn't for you. Maybe if you want to take a step off, maybe you swing that right leg out in front of you and you keep this left leg just tucked underneath you. Another way to get a great stretch, but it's less of an exhausting stretch. This can be a lot for our body, right? If we don't have very loose hip flexors, sometimes it can be a lot to just sit in pigeon for a while. So as always, you have the option to change up what you'd like to do. Maybe taking one more breath here before moving your blocks to the side if you have them. Also, books can be used as blocks. You can use pretty much anything that is 3 to 4 inches wide, right? Basically the width of a balance beam. Put my blocks there so that I'm ready. I'm going to curl my toe underneath me. This is my right leg I've got underneath me. I'm going to lift up into downward facing dog. Here's my 3-legged dog. Leg goes all the way up. Exhale, place it down gently. Inhale, starting to lift up the left leg this time, right? Exhale, pike it underneath you. You know what I mean when I say pike. Place it. You can keep that leg straight to the mat, kind of parallel to your mat. For me, my flexibility doesn't allow me to get there, so I'm going to stay like this. Grabbing onto those blocks. Coming down into whatever position is comfortable. For me, I like to roll side to side on my hip, just to kind of feel more deeply. Maybe you notice yourself getting deeper into the hip and realizing you might not need as much support from the blocks as before. That's perfectly fine. Remember that slide there. Again, always the option to modify and pull that left leg out in front of you and maybe just sit with a straight spine. Wherever you are, taking about 2 more breaths here. Before you come into the middle of your mat, facing me, stop for some water if you'd like. And you'll come up onto kind of like sitting on your knees. So you've got your ankles, I'll turn to the side here, right underneath your sacrum, right? So your sacrum's here, right down, there's your toes. This is a lot. This hero's pose, this pose can be a little aggravating, so I welcome you to grab a block and maybe sit on the block if you feel like you need something more. So from here, you're quite literally going to splay your heels out to the side so that you look like you have knocked knees. From there, you'll sit back into this hero's pose. This is a great time to put the block underneath you. If this feels too aggravating, you're welcome to sit normally, noticing if the block is adding to or taking away from your experience. You can place your palms face down or face up on your thighs, however you'd like to, wherever you feel comfortable. And just breathe normally here. This is a great way to reset your spine. I know many of us have desk jobs, right? So we end up sitting all day, every day. And we come home and we don't really counterbalance that. The great thing about this stretch is that it feels pretty natural, but it does give us that little bit of counterbalancing that we need from a week of just sitting all day, every day. Maybe you want to inhale your arms up overhead. Exhale, I'm going to interlace my fingers, stretch up. Exhale, I'm going to fall over to my right side. I'm going to place my right hand on the floor, and my left is going to just reach over me just a little bit. Feeling a nice side body stretch, releasing some heat there. Inhale, coming back up, bringing that right hand up, flexing those fingers away from yourself. Exhale, bringing that left arm down. Right starts to kind of pull over. Nice little side body stretch here. Inhale, bringing it back up. Maybe one last reach up to the ceiling. Exhale, let it go. Remove your block. And here comes a nice little back bending pose. A really great way to have at the end of class because it really makes us focus in on what we want to do with our poses, what we want to do with our practice, where we want to go. So I am going to cue it with blocks this time, just because I think it gets a little bit easier and maybe a little bit less daunting when we have something to fall back onto. So you're going to keep your blocks with you. You're going to stand up on your knees. From here, you can decide where you'd like to put the blocks. For me, I know that I like to reach back for my heels, so I'm going to put them on either side of my heels, right to the side. I'm going to stand up on my knees again. I'm going to inhale and imagine a beam of light spitting right out from my chest. So I want to imagine that kind of like a laser beam. It's going to split all the way up to the ceiling and back. So we want this laser beam to point straight forward, and then we want to bring it up, kind of like a little 90-degree angle, right? So you could see a little arch. If I drew something right here, it would just be this little arch. A teacher did that to me one time, and it made it make a lot of sense as a visual person. I was totally on board. So here we go, standing up on the knees. And we're coming back into camel. Imagine it as dipping back. So lifting up, there's that beam of light. Exhale, lifting up, finding your blocks. Maybe this isn't feeling good for you. For me, I'm like, maybe I need to take my blocks with me on the way down. So here we go. Here's that beam of light, right? Exhale. Woo. Just step it back. Feeling that openness. Noticing if your body is saying no. Right now my body is like, nope, not happening. And that's okay. So I'm going to cue the motion through again. Here we go. Inhale, stand up on your knees. Place those blocks behind you. And then maybe this time you want to press your chest even more far forward. And you think, oh, there's a block right there. I can probably try to reach that block. Ooh, there we go. Inhale to come out of it. Ooh. Exhale to come back down onto your knees. Cool. So obviously with that, we have to counterpose it. This is not news to you. Press yourself back into child's pose. You can have your big toes together or apart. It is up to you. Walk those hands out all the way to the top of your mat. Exhale, surrender. Remembering that child's pose is very much a purposeful practice. It's a purposeful pose. We want to do that child's pose so we can kind of reset everything we just did in the legs, that nice stretch in the thighs. We want to reset that big back bend that we did to kind of end class. Sitting with it here. Maybe starting to massage your third eye. That's that space between your brows right here. Massaging it into the mat, maybe just back and forth. Starting to kind of reset. Maybe you want to do a thread the needle again, right? Maybe child's pose isn't happening for you. Maybe you would just like to sit in that nice hero's pose. Maybe you take a full-on balasana, which is more fetal pose, where you're actually a lot more compressed. And you look more like a tiny ball on your mat. Wherever you are, knowing that you are supported, knowing that you are strong, remembering that this is our strong space. This is our strong space for the day. As you are ready, you can come out of it. You can have your legs right out in front of you. Imagine as if we were going to reach up and touch our toes. That's the kind of stance we're looking for. From here, we're going to move into our recline poses. You might want to take a block with you just because one of my final poses, that's always my favorite, is waterfall pose. And it's nice to kick your legs up over your head so they feel weightless. It's very restorative. Great, so here we go. Lying all the way down. We'll start with a reclined figure 4. So we have our knees bent, right? Here we go. I'm gonna start to send my right foot over my left knee. So it's sitting right on top of my thigh here. It's not under my knee, it's right above it, just slightly above it. And with my hands, I'm going to reach underneath my left thigh and pull towards myself. From here, you can flex that bottom leg, flex the toes, or point, whichever way feels best. Pulling that leg so that you feel that nice stretch in the right hip flexor. If you're doing it correctly, that is exactly how it should feel. Noticing if you want to rock back and forth across your spine, or if you'd like to stay exactly as you are. Exhale, bring those knees back to where they were, feet on the mat. Inhale, cross that left leg over the right knee. Realizing where you need to go, if there's any adjustment you should make, so that you can inhale, reach around your right thigh, and pull it in towards your chest. Again, always the option to extend that bottom leg, to maybe flex and point the toe. Maybe you prefer having that right leg bent so that it is much more of a figure 4. Either way, feeling the nice stretch through our nice body in kind of that hip flexor area. We did it on the other side too, but now we're really feeling our body start to even out. If it feels good, you can exhale and kind of release out of this, bringing your feet down to the mat. Here's where I invite you to grab your block. It is totally up to you. I prefer using the block for this. It just feels a little bit more supported. And I just really like ending class in a field that is very weightless. So from here, you're going to take your block and you're going to find the flat part of your back. That's your sacrum. You can place this block right under your sacrum so that it supports you. It shouldn't hurt you and you shouldn't feel any tension in your spine. So if you feel that tension, maybe you lift it up more. Inhale, tucking your feet in towards your chest. Exhale to extend your feet up, perpendicular to the ceiling, right? And then when you hit that sweet spot, your legs will feel weightless. And that is where you want to go. So you'll let your legs just fall, not even bothering to care about whether or not our knees are straight or bent. And that nice weightless feeling will come into play. Sit with it for a second. I always like to grab my block, maybe put my palms face down on the mat, and enjoy the feeling of being completely weightless in my legs. Maybe closing our eyes here. If it feels okay, maybe starting to succumb to this feeling of weightlessness. If you'd like to maybe sway side to side. Maybe you'd like to stay completely stagnant and static. Inhale, maybe lifting your legs up so that you can let them fall one more time. Finding that point where they feel completely weightless. Again, option to sway side to side here. Option to maneuver your block so that it's a little bit more under your sacrum than under your spine. Exhale, coming out of it. Bringing those feet all the way down to the mat. Inhale to lift up through your hips, slide that block out, and lay completely on the mat. Per usual, I do like to offer at least 3 minutes of practice completely on your own, where I do not cue and instead you do whatever you've been working on in your personal practice. 3 minutes start right now. I will call you back when they are finished. I will be waiting here, just sitting on my mat. And since we're a little short, we'll do a minute and a half. We'll just chop it right in half. So we'll come back here at about 4:51. Maybe you use the blocks today. How did that feel? I don't normally use blocks in my own personal practice just because I get an ego and feel like I don't need them. I'd say that's one of the most common mistakes in yoga, thinking you don't need to use the beginner props, but in reality, we're all beginners, especially in the spirit of yoga. Having that block can really kind of change your entire practice once you learn which measurement feels good for you. For me, I love the tallest measurement, and I also love the shortest measurement. I don't really like the in-between. Sometimes in a nice triangle pose, I'll show you a triangle pose. A block can be helpful as you straighten that front leg and then you reach forward. Once you hit that point, you can bring that block to the inside of your foot and find a nice triangle pose here. Now without the block, I would be looking pretty silly because my body doesn't want to do that pose yet. My body doesn't like it unless I have the block. So using the block helps me to feel a lot more strong and actually helps me to open up my chest. It's just one example. Another example is pyramid pose. A lot of people in pyramid pose tend to kind of round like this, and we don't want to do that. We want to keep the nice straight spine. So using a block helps. Even if it's a forward fold, like halfway lift. Maybe this isn't my complete pyramid pose, but it feels good for me. About 30 seconds left in our individual practice. Exhale, you can start to allow yourself to lay back in Shavasana. Our final resting pose, our deepest meditation. Remembering that Shavasana can be used with props. I love to do Savasana with props. Shavasana is so great because you can pull up a blanket, especially now that we're in our own houses so much. You can grab a blanket, you can put your socks on, you can use a block as a pillow. You can also use a block to prop up your feet. That's a really nice one, just to give yourself a little bit of luxury in a world that is so often not the case, right? Maybe today you made some great strides in your personal practice. Maybe today you held the pose longer than you thought you could. I know today personally, I really worked on strengthening my thighs. So I kind of used my quads to stabilize myself when we did that kind of the transition between our warrior pose, warrior two, right? And that nice little spin open into it. That really helped me to strengthen up through my quads and really rely on myself. Maybe you noticed your breath change during this class. Maybe you noticed that, yeah, I really do like working with props. Maybe you noticed that you want a little something more in class. Maybe you notice that your practice is becoming sacred to you. Wherever you are, I invite you to let go of those ideas. Maybe to just let them sit out in the ether. Stop holding such high expectations of ourselves. And instead, just kind of, living into the fact that we're human, right? Maybe letting your head rest all the way against the mat or the floor or whatever surface you're on for practice. Maybe instead of laying down, maybe you just want to lay back a little bit. Maybe you like to have your legs crisscross in front of you. Maybe you're just trying to get a very full and open feeling for the end of your practice. Wherever you are, I invite you to start noticing some movement. Maybe inviting a little bit of movement between fingers and toes. Just starting to kind of pull ourselves out of Shavasana. We do still have 4 minutes. Just to make sure we are fully present in our nice meditation. The very best part of class, but almost definitely the hardest part of class. We do not like to not be thinking of anything. We don't like to have our mind quiet. It's very uncomfortable. That's why things like meditation for 5 minutes seem so impossible. We like to always have something next, for the next hour, the next day, the next year. We like to plan. We are planners. The practice of yoga shows us that there is consistency and surprise, right? The practice of yoga tells us that, no matter what happens, life will always throw you a curveball. No matter how many times you go into a downward facing dog, it can feel different every single time. Remembering that all of this work that you put in over the last 60 minutes is yours and yours alone. This is the practice that you brought to life. Shavasana, corpse pose, representing the death of the practice, which is a bit dramatic, I think. But instead, thinking of it as a rebirth, right? Thinking of Shavasana as the point to kind of cap it off and start all over. Maybe leaning into that feeling of discomfort, the not knowing. Today I didn't really say the theme, but I think it's something that we all kind of agree. It's creating warmth in ourselves when so much around us is cold. It's being temperate when the world is very much temperamental. It's being strong when it's the hardest. In the next 10 seconds, you can roll over to your left or right side, using one arm underneath your head as a type of pillow, pulling your knees into your chest in fetal pose. Inhaling to press yourself up into a nice seated position. I don't care which way you do it, whatever feels best. If it feels good for you, you can meet me with your legs crossed, with your palms together at heart center. If you'd like, you can bow your head. If it's in your practice, you are welcome to join me on a reflective Om and a Namaste to cap off our practice. Om. Namaste. Per usual, this is my usual Friday slot. I teach at 4 p.m. Most Fridays, so I'm here pretty much every couple of weeks. The next time I will be back, I believe, is the 23rd, 4 p.m. sharp. So I hope to see you here. I hope the rest of your week is fantastic. As always, I am on Instagram as Julie Does Yoga. You can follow along with my yoga of life. Thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful weekend.